let's see where I can get you. Let's see where I can take you. So we're a proud communist.
Yes.
Now you're a bloke in a boat out in Moreton Bay, and you're fighting for freedom.
Yes.
Now, how do those two things go together?
Oh, I always was I loved the Russian people. Loved the Russian people, and I still do. I love everything about them.
Have you been
in
to Russia?
I thought at the time, through the Soviet Union, that the Russian people wanted communism and it worked for them and all that stuff. The great deception, of course. Yep. I mean, the Soviet Union's run by the Zionists and the Khazarian mafia and the Khazarian Jews who hate Christians. They hate them. Now, a number of years ago, when finally the Soviet Union broke down and split up, and Vladimir Putin, became president of the Russian Federation. Vladimir Putin, who again I greatly admire and I love Vlad, bad Vlad, but he converted to the Russian Orthodox Christianity. He became a Christian, and he started talking about a whole range of stuff, which opened my understanding about communism and the damage that it done. And how it was never any good in the first place. So my road to Damascus, if you like, has been to study all the theory, all of the technicals and all that stuff. I mean, one of the great things about the communism is that they're the best liars you can get. But I found out a couple of things. One, Karl Marx, he was a cousin of the Rothschilds. The Communist Party Manifesto was written by an alcoholic, pisshead, useless idiot, Karl Marx, who was pulled out of poverty by his cousins, the Rothschilds, who then set him up and paid for the Communist Party Manifesto. The whole left versus right, the whole communism versus capitalism is all manufactured. It's all engineered. There's no such, it's just us and them. And but Vladimir Putin, who again, I love the guy. I think he's a smart cookie. He converted to Christianity. I'm not a Christian, but I'm backing the Christians up as best I can. I'm rock solid supporting the Christians. But that was the stuff that opened my eyes. That's the stuff that you have your revelations on the road to Damascus, so to speak.
Okay, so you're not a Christian, but would I be right in thinking that you're not a Christian, so you're probably not a fan of organised religion? But as far as you're concerned, is there a spirit, like is there a creator, or is there some form of a God, or do you have spirituality within you? Because you care a lot.
Look. I know that there's Satan worshippers, very evil people here. I know that they exist. I know that they sacrifice children. That is a matter of fact. I've seen photographs and footage and evidence of all of this stuff, right? So I know that exists. Now, if that exists, it also tells me that there must be forces of good out there in the spiritual world. Look, my only experience with spirituality is from my Abo mates. I've hung around. I was locked up. I spent 5 years with them locked up in an institution. And when I got out, I've always had a couple of Abo mates. And they're very spiritual people. I mean, they do time travel. I went out shooting in Alice Springs. I lived in Alice Springs for 3 years. So if you want to know a bit about Pine Gap, I can tell you all about that too. But we went out shooting rabbits, and in the morning, I got up and got the fire going for a cup of tea, and I was with a couple of my old blackfella mates, and I went to kick one of them to wake him up. The other one was awake in the sleeping bag. And he said, "Oh, no, don't touch him. Leave him. And I said, "Why?" I said, "We don't get going. We're going to be late." He said, "He's not here. He's traveling. He's in dream time. He's traveling. He's in another dimension. Leave him." And so, I've had that sort of exposure. The spirituality has never been via a church. I mean, look, when it comes to Bibles, I've never read one page, one chapter, one line, I had to Google the 10 Commandments not long ago. I had to Google them. You understand? I had to Google the Lord's Prayer. I didn't know. But I've smoked at least 2 Bibles. I've smoked them. Inside of the boys' home that I referred to earlier, the Catholics used to come once a month to run Mass, and I used to go because they had a leather-bound Bible with rice paper. And that's what I used to roll my dumpers up with. So I've smoked a couple of Bibles, but I've never read them. Never.
Right, yeah.
I've been to church a couple of times for funerals and marriages, you know, but even then it felt kooky.
So I just wanted to make sure that people felt comfortable if they were talking to a communist who didn't believe in any sort of religion. But now that we know you smoke Bibles, everything's cool.
No, I'm a very knowledgeable man after smoking a couple of Bibles, mate.
Well, a lot of people haven't ingested the Bible as much as you have, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that.
So that's good. Now, I'm just going to give you a chance to breathe for a moment. Boris, you had a question before. Did you want to speak? If you can unmute yourself.
I just wanted to mention when John was talking about underground stuff in Canberra, I actually worked on an underground communication centre in Parks, and it was under one of the car parks. We were never given the location. We just, we knew it was in Parks and underground. And one specific thing that I remember was that it had an RF screen all around. And at the time, I didn't quite understand what it was for, but I was told that it stops all radio frequency coming in and out. So it was obviously for federal government.
So was that like a Faraday cage, Boris?
Yes, like a Faraday cage. And it was in a secret location in Parks somewhere. Under a car park. It was entrance was from just like a staircase type of doorway. You just come in and that's it, and the door closes. So I can vouch that there is stuff underground there for sure.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have to contribute.
Okay. No, thank you, Boris.
No worries.
We've got Ian there. If you'd like to unmute yourself, please, Ian.
Yeah, g'day, Stephen. Just following along with the comments on the Parliament House. I lived close to Canberra there for a few years and got talking to a fellow whose grandparents were working in Canberra at the time before the Parliament House. And he tells me they lived in a suburb called Ainslie, which is one of the northern suburbs of Canberra. And it was actually a gold mining camp. And there was a gold mine which basically is flooded. It's under Lake Billy Griffin. Apparently there's a lot of gold down there. So it's just, I guess it's a matter of interest. That because Canberra's in the bottom of the valley, a lot of the, all the rivers lead down to the bottom, of course, and the gold flows down there. So I guess if Australia's ever gets a break, all they have to do is drain the dam and go for the gold.
So do you remember, so you know where Lake George is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically a big basin. Do you remember a car called the Holden Chimera? It was one of the best advertising campaigns ever and one of the worst vehicles you could drive.
Chimera, actually, I remember the Holden Chimera. I don't remember the ad. But I always...
What they did was they had them out on Lake George.
Yeah.
And I saw all the car carriers out there and they had ramps set up and they were jumping them. And you would have been really fortunate if you got to buy one of them.
Yeah, that's true. One of the things that always just astound me is that one of our favourite cars is a Holden Monaro, but with the same spelling, there's a Monaro Highway. Yeah. But all the local Canberraites actually call them Monaro.
Yeah.
Never understood the difference.
No, it's probably just the location.
Those things.
Yeah. Can I say something about Lake George?
Yes, please.
Look, I lived at a place called Gundaroo, right, just outside of Canberra.
I know Gundaroo.
Canberra, right. I lived at Ainslie, right, so I know these places. But look, Lake George is a freshwater inland lake, and no one has worked out why this happens. But they're in the middle of a drought. Lake George can fill to the brim. Absolutely, it can come up out of nowhere and fill to the brim. And in the middle of floods, it can be almost empty.
Yeah.
So there's water goes in and out of that lake from underground somewhere, right? Huge water. It sort of led me. It led me on some lines of inquiry about water being available, fresh water being available in the Earth's crusts and things like that. I don't want to chase that rabbit down the hole, but I'm just saying to you, when you talk about underground, tunnels and caverns and stuff like that around Canberra, the answer is yes. Lots of them. Lots of them. Gold mining, go up to Bungendore.
Yep.
Some of the other villages along the road out to I got married at Bungendore. That's where they filmed the film The Year My Voice Broke. But I know that there's tunnels and underground facilities there. Again, under Parliament House. I'm not prepared to go into any detail here, but
yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. That's no worries. So, and actually, I just asked you, it's just a silly little question, but the fellow I mentioned that had the concrete truck, he said that one day when he was in there, the site got shut down and that he got locked in. And I was wondering if you might have been aware of the time, because he was a bloke, he was about 6'3". And when we were in King's Cross for a conference once and we walked through the cross, we were both wearing blue suits, and some bloke selling watches out of a suitcase looked at us a few times and then packed everything up real quick and took to the hills. We found out that then that people thought we were detectives. But anyway, when he was in under the Parliament House and they locked all the gates, he said, "I'm not staying, I'm not part of your bloody union." And his story is that he got in his truck and he took out every gate between him and the main road to get out. But I was just wondering if you might have been aware of that.
Look, it was a wild place, mate. It was a wild place. We had Norm Galley, my tower crane driver. Now, these were freestanding. They weren't bolted onto the side of a building. They're like one of those clowns with the heavy weight at the bottom. When you punch them, they fall over and come back. They're weighted at the bottom. They were freestanding tower. We went on strike there, and the dogmen, they didn't belong to our union. They were the crane chasers, and they were all Builders Labourers Federation, Norm Gallagher's people. They scabbed on us. They went up our cranes and started operating. Now, we went back in the gate. We got a compressor and a rattling gun, and we undid the bolts. There's only 3 bolts left, mate, holding up a tower crane. We were going to bring the whole fucking crane down. Now, when he come down, mate, we opened him up with car levers. We flogged him, split him open like a watermelon. Parliament House was a very wild place, mate. Very wild place. I can tell you, there's all sorts of stuff here. I could be here all night talking war stories here. You want to talk about flags? We stole the Builders Labourers Federation ceremonial flag. We stole it off them. I mean, they flipped out. You should have seen them. Oh, we laughed our guts out at them, mate.